Those certain members have decided to get into bed with the devil, right, to rehabilitate their image. Yeah, but the moment that rehabilitation comes at the detriment of others, me, other members of my family, then that's where I draw the line. Prince Harry has just landed in London, and the explosive revelation he brought with him is sending shock waves through the entire royal family. Insiders say his unexpected return wasn't a simple visit, but a calculated move that places Queen Camilla directly in the line of fire. Whispers inside the palace hint at secrets, long-buried tensions, and a truth powerful enough to shake the monarchy's foundation. So, what did Harry uncover, and why is Camilla suddenly facing massive scrutiny? Stay tuned, because this royal bombshell changes everything. The midnight flight that shook the throne. Dawn settled quietly over Heathrow Airport on October 18, 2024, wrapping the runway in a cold autumn hush. At exactly 6:47 a.m., British Airways Flight 27L eased onto the tarmac, its engines dimming into the stillness like a ghost slipping into morning mist. Yet this was far from an ordinary landing. Inside that aircraft was more than a roster of passengers. There was a gathering storm pulsing through royal bloodlines, a brewing tempest ready to shake palaces, disrupt hierarchies, and challenge centuries of carefully guarded tradition. From the aircraft emerged Prince Harry. No fanfare, no heralded procession, no royal limousine lined with flashing cameras. Gone were the protective cocoon of pomp and private jets. The Duke of Sussex arrived disguised in simplicity, a baseball cap shadowing his face, a plain gray jacket wrapping him like armor. Sleek black SUV hummed silently nearby, VIP lanes holding secrets beneath their tinted windows. Figures in dark suits and earpieces move like shadows, whispering urgent instructions into the void, as if even the air had ears. One airport staffer, still shaking at the memory, confessed later, it wasn't a homecoming. It felt like a breach, an incursion into the heart of power itself. Harry had outmaneuvered the watchful eyes that had trailed him for years. Rather than his usual private jet, impenetrable and expected, he chose a crowded commercial flight, blending in with ordinary travelers, slipping through the sobbing, through the media, grasped like a fox under the cloak of night. His bodyguard, Christopher Sanchez, moved with quiet precision, merging seamlessly with Scotland Yard operatives, whose training had turned secrecy into art. Every step was calculated, deliberate, rehearsed in shadows. Yet beneath the calm lay a tension that could ignite at any second. And yet what weighed most was not the luggage of a royal traveler. Tucked discreetly among his belongings was a tiny digital recorder, modest in appearance, but monumental in consequence. A device holding words capable of toppling thrones, of exposing truths that centuries of careful secrecy had tried to bury. By 7:15 a.m., the first tremors of panic reached Windsor Castle. "The Duke is back," aides whispered frantically into phones, voices trembling with disbelief. King Charles's meticulously planned schedule was shattered as if fragile china had been struck by a hammer. A royal car raced to meet him, only to find Harry's resolve unyielding. "I'll drive myself," he insisted, slipping into a discreet Audi that glided into the streets like a phantom heading toward destiny. The palace guards exchanged tense, haunted glances. Threats of the past, distant and vague, held against the immediacy of this intrusion, an upheaval not from outside enemies, but from within the gilded walls of the monarchy. Every whispered order, every anxious glance seemed to vibrate with the knowledge that centuries of carefully cultivated image and authority might unravel in moments. As the sun slowly rose, casting golden light over Windsor's ancient spires, the monarchy braced itself for the consequences of an unscheduled return. The air seemed to thrum with electricity, a mixture of anticipation and dread. This was not a simple visit. It was a reckoning, a collision of past grievances, personal vendettas, and unspoken truths. In the hush of the morning, history itself seemed suspended, waiting to see whether the royal house could withstand the storm, brewing quietly within one determined man. Even as he drove away from prying eyes, the message was clear. Prince Harry had returned not to reconcile, not to follow, but to rewrite the narrative. The monarchy, poised between tradition and scrutiny, now faced its most personal crisis, and in those golden dawn rays glinting off castle turrets, the world realized that power, no matter how ancient, was never untouchable. When did Harry step away from England? Why did he leave? When did he first return? Let's delve into the details of Prince Harry's first return to Britain, royal ties and personal paths. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle shocked the world in January 2020 when they announced their decision to step back from their roles as senior members of the British royal family. The move, unprecedented in modern royal history, was driven by a mix of frustration, anger, and a desire for independence. Both were deeply weary of relentless media intrusion, feeling that their every move, word, and even private moment was being scrutinized, misreported, or sensationalized. Compounding this was their growing frustration with Buckingham Palace, which they felt limited their ability to create and develop their own initiatives under the Sussex royal brand. They sought to carve a path where they could contribute meaningfully yet on their own terms without being constrained by centuries-old traditions or constant public speculation. Despite stepping back, Harry retains his royal title and remains fifth in line to the throne, a connection that continues to tie him to the institution he once served fully. Since moving away from official duties, Harry has made several notable returns to the United Kingdom, each trip carrying both public significance and private tension. One of the most talked about moments came after months of speculation regarding his relationship with his father, King Charles Roman III. In a quiet and closely observed visit, Harry spent around 50 minutes at Clarence House meeting with the king. The purpose of the meeting, though brief, was laden with emotional weight. It reflected not just familial ties, but the ongoing balancing act between personal loyalty, public life, and the duties of royalty. Harry's trips back to Britain often coincide with charitable and humanitarian efforts, underscoring the causes he is passionate about. On one occasion, he attended the Well Child Awards, an annual event celebrating children facing serious illnesses or disabilities, demonstrating his commitment to supporting vulnerable youth. Harry also donated £1 million to a BBC Children in Need project in Nottingham, aimed at helping young people affected by violence. Beyond philanthropy, his returns have included legal matters such as court proceedings regarding his security arrangements and actions against press outlets that he argues have invaded his family's privacy. These visits reveal the constant tension between his public responsibilities, personal safety, and desire to live a more independent life with Meghan and their children. Throughout 2024, Harry's engagements in the UK have been a mix of solemn remembrance and celebration. In August, he attended a memorial service for his late uncle, Lord Robert Fellows. While the Prince of Wales was also present, reports suggested that Harry and his brother William did not exchange words during the service, hinting at the ongoing complexities within the royal family. Earlier that year, in May, Harry participated in a commemorative service marking the 10th anniversary of the Invictus Games, the international sporting event he founded to honor and support injured servicemen and women. These appearances highlight the causes closest to his heart, supporting youth, military veterans, and the vulnerable while also maintaining a public presence tied to his royal heritage. Harry has returned for deeply personal moments as well. In February 2024, he flew in for a brief 45-minute meeting with King Charles following the announcement of the King's cancer diagnosis, a poignant reminder of the fragile and ever-changing nature of family relationships. Similarly, he attended his father's coronation in May 2023, though notably without Meghan, signaling both respect and a continued assertion of boundaries. The couple had previously returned to the UK together for significant national events, including the Platinum Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II in June 2022, and her funeral in September 2022, demonstrating that while they have stepped back from daily royal duties, they continue to honor the monarchy during moments of historic importance. Harry's ongoing ties to Britain illustrate the duality of his life, a man caught between loyalty and independence, public expectation and personal conviction. Each visit, whether for charity, commemoration, or private family matters, is layered with meaning, scrutiny, and emotion. Through it all, Harry continues to navigate a path that balances his heritage, his passions, and the life he is building alongside Meghan, striving to honor the past while shaping a future on his own terms. How was Harry's return perceived in the royal palace? What kind of atmosphere did he meet there? Let's find out. Whispers of dread in royal chambers. The air in Clarence's house felt heavy, almost suffocating as the clock ticked past 8:10 a.m. Sir Clive Alderton entered with the weight of a storm cloud behind him. "Sir," he said carefully, "your younger son waits for you at Windsor." The words landed like a cannon shot. King Charles, still in his mourning robe, perched amid towers of red dispatch boxes, froze mid-motion. The polished composure that had carried him through decades of scrutiny faltered, cracking like ancient parchment. His chest tightened, breath-catching, as color drained from his face, leaving a ghostly pallor. A shiver ran down his spine, as if an unseen presence had stepped into the room. "Why now?" he murmured, his voice almost a whisper, but sharp with unease. His mind raced back to that cryptic July 2023 call with Harry. Vague hints of unfinished truths had seemed innocuous then, almost playful. Now they felt like daggers, sharpened and aimed at the heart of everything he had built. Clive, sensing the tension, offered a suggestion. "Should we alert Queen Camilla?" But Charles silenced him with a soft, commanding edge, a velvet blade of authority. "Not yet," he said. Those two words reverberated through the room, a tolling bell announcing something ominous. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. For 20 excruciating minutes, the king sat motionless, staring past the dispatch boxes, lost in a haze of foreign reports and half-formed fears. Camilla's presence hovered in his thoughts, a shadow that twisted with every heartbeat. What knowledge did Harry possess, and why had he chosen this exact moment, so close to the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's passing? To reveal it by 8:45 a.m., Charles's resolve hardened. To Windsor, he finally commanded, deliberately refusing extra guards. This stays family. Every word was deliberate, heavy with unspoken rules. In the motorcade, tension clung to the air like smoke. Curtains were drawn tight, sealing them from prying eyes. Clive leaned closer, his whisper slicing through the oppressive quiet. "It's about Camilla." The king's jaw tightened, and the castle gates loomed ahead like a ravenous maw, ready to swallow them whole. Inside Windsor, in the morning room, bathed in deceptive sunlight, father and son faced each other. This was not a reunion. No smiles, no warmth, only sharp, measured gazes, each reading the other for weakness. "You came unannounced," Charles accused, his voice steady but edged with accusation. "You'd have barred the door," Harry shot back, his tone carrying a mixture of defiance and inevitability. A thick silence descended, heavy as the fog rolling over the Thames. Harry finally spoke, his words cutting through the tension like a knife. "It's about Camilla and what she knew before grandmother's passing." The revelation struck like lightning, and the room seemed to vibrate with unspoken thunder. Charles's grip on the armrest tightened, knuckles whitening. The air crackled with an electric charge, each heartbeat pounding like a drum in a silent hall. This was no casual conversation. This was the monarchy's most delicate heart laid bare, exposed to betrayal, suspicion, and the weight of secrets long hidden. Father and son were no longer simply family. They were adversaries in a quiet velvet war, each aware of the power and peril in the other's hands. The room's opulence, gold leaf, polished wood, sunlight refracted through stained glass, felt suddenly irrelevant. A fragile shell around a storm that could shatter everything. In that moment, the past collided with the present. Loyalty, love, ambition, and regret intertwined in a dangerous dance. Words were weapons, glances were strategy, and silence became a battleground. The monarchy, for all its grandeur, felt achingly human, fragile, vulnerable, and electrified with the tension of truths finally demanded. No one moved, no one blinked, only the weight of what was unsaid pressed down, filling every corner of the room. This was not history being made. It was history being confronted. What was Harry's mission in the royal palace? Which evidence does he have to back his claims? Let's dig into the details of the unearthed evidence. The tape that echoed through time. Rewind to the heavy mist-laden afternoon of September 9th, 2022, when the world had just learned that Queen Elizabeth had taken her final breath in the quiet solitude of Balmoral. The Scottish Highlands, usually majestic and serene, now felt suffocating under the weight of loss. In the hushed stillness of Windsor's library, Camilla called Harry aside. Her posture was calm, almost elegant, but there was a tension in her eyes, a sharpness beneath the veneer of composure. "I need to tell you the truth," she said, her voice smooth, deliberate, and layered with authority. What followed made Harry's blood run cold. "I discovered Her Majesty's critical condition 6 hours before the official announcement through discreet medical channels," she admitted, each word measured, almost rehearsed. There was no apology, no sign of guilt, only a faint flicker of pride as she outlined the steps she had taken. She described giving instructions to her aides to secure crucial documents, family secrets, and even succession plans at Clarence House. Protocol, she insisted, though the word rang hollow. Harry could feel it. What she called duty felt very much like a quiet power play. Royal tradition demanded that all heirs receive equal notice, a safeguard against favoritism. Yet Camilla had acted in the shadows, reshaping the narrative, leaving William and Catherine unaware of what was unfolding around them. That evening, Harry could not escape the echo of her words. The phrase "smooth transition" had morphed into something far darker in his mind, a silent, strategic coup. Boldly, he had activated a recorder during their conversation, capturing 2 minutes and 11 seconds of what he now considered damning evidence. It remained hidden, a secret treasure of truth until this very morning. Now, at precisely 9:45 a.m., Harry placed the small device on the polished table as though it were a loaded weapon. "Listen," he commanded, calm but firm across from him. Charles stiffened, denial ready on his lips. "You're mistaken." But Harry's conviction did not waver. "I wish it were otherwise," he said quietly. The confrontation stretched on for 42 minutes, each word a careful strike. In the end, neither side yielded. Harry departed, leaving the king trembling, aware of the unplayed recording that could change everything. By 11:30 a.m., Charles sought refuge in the chapel, the weight of uncertainty pressing on him. Could it be true? Had his queen, in the hours before the crown's transition, undermined the sacred bonds that held the monarchy together? Meanwhile, Harry lingered nearby, his bag heavy with transcripts, proofs, and the remaining arsenal. Yet to be revealed, at noon the inevitable moment arrived. In Charles's private study, Harry pressed play. Camilla's voice filled the room, unwavering and chilling. Act swiftly before the others know. The words hung in the air, and the consequences cascaded like falling dominoes, threatening reputations, alliances, and the very structure of the royal lineage. Decisions loomed: bury the truth or expose it. Whispers of strategy and betrayal buzzed through every corner of the palace. Even Clive's counsel offered little comfort. Concealment might doom us more, he warned, emphasizing the peril of hesitation. Outside, the familiar chimes of Big Ben sounded, marking the hour, as if the city itself sensed the monumental choice before the king. In that suspended moment, Charles's world balanced precariously on the edge of revelation, a fragile monarchy threatened not by foreign adversaries, but by secrets unearthed within its own walls. Every glance at the recorder, every echo of Camilla's voice reinforced one undeniable truth: nothing would ever be the same. History and legacy now depended on decisions made in shadowed corridors where whispers could topple dynasties, and a single confession could ignite a storm that generations might never forget. How did Charles handle the heartbreaking revelation? How did Camilla react to the revelation? Let's dive into the details of the meeting that questioned reputations. The fractured Famille Summit. By 5:18 p.m., dusk had draped Clarence House in shadowy shades, turning its elegant walls into a stage for unease. Camilla's private secretary appeared, eyes wide, delivering the news that made her heart stumble. Harry confronted the king about Balmoral. Camilla's face drained of color, memories she had tried to bury. The whispered conversations, the tapes, the public whispers rose like ghosts from the past. She exhaled, almost whispering to herself, "He means to destroy me." Outside, London continued, oblivious, the city lights twinkling in stark contrast to the storm brewing within these royal walls. But Harry's purpose was not revenge. His mission was clarity, to shed light where shadows had long ruled. Yet his actions threatened the fragile image Camilla had spent years rebuilding, the careful balance from scandal to queenly composure. Panic coursed through her. She made call after call, summoning allies, crafting counter-narratives, all before the first light of dawn could touch the palace gardens. A glass of gin trembled in her hand, untouched, as a fear she thought long buried clawed its way back into her chest. That evening the ultimatum arrived, a full council, all key players, Charles, Camilla, William, Catherine, and Harry, or the matter would erupt publicly. The meeting was set for October 19th, 7:00 p.m., in Windsor's green drawing room, an unprecedented gathering that had not occurred in years. When the family assembled, tension vibrated in the air like a storm about to break. Charles spoke first, his voice pleading for unity, urging the bonds of family to hold. Harry, eyes steady, responded, "The truth deserves daylight." A recorder played, and Camilla's own words cut through the room, sharp and undeniable. Faces hardened. Catherine's controlled anger simmered beneath the surface, while William's fists clenched in restrained fury. "You stole our final moments," he accused, the echo of betrayal ringing through the chamber. Camilla lifted her gaze, unwavering, insisting, I shielded the throne. Yet even as she spoke, cracks in the royal veneer became evident. The room became a crucible, a mix of dignity, despair, and raw emotion. Harry's tone softened, but the ultimatum remained clear. Resolve this now, or the world will decide for us. Charles, after a moment of reflection, nodded, signaling a deeper discussion to follow. The next evening, October 20th, 7:00 p.m., the library at Windsor was bathed in the warm glow of chandeliers. Camilla entered, posture defiant, ready to confront the storm. The air was thick with unspoken history, and accusations began to fly. Catherine's voice rang sharp. "You rewrote power for yourself." Camilla's retort was equally firm. "I bore the burden. I protected the monarchy." Silence fell heavily, suffocating as the weight of truth pressed on everyone present. Charles raised a hand, commanding pause. "This truth remains here. No repetitions beyond these walls." Harry's voice followed, insistent yet calm. "Ensure it remains so." In that room, an agreement took shape, delicate as spun glass, binding the royals in an uneasy truce. The fragile threads of trust and duty held, preserving the crown's facade. But beneath the polished exterior, every word, every glance told of wounds that had yet to fully heal. Each participant carried guilt, pride, and fear, their faces masks for the world outside, and in those moments, the palace became both sanctuary and battlefield. A theater where the monarchy's image and the family's fractured bonds intertwined in a dance as delicate as it was dangerous. Camilla's carefully rebuilt reputation, the royal family's unity, and Harry's relentless quest for transparency converged in this tense ballet of words and glances. Each sentence, each interruption carried weight. What was said here would ripple far beyond the palace walls if mishandled. The air, dense with emotion, held its breath until the final nods and assurances. With the agreement in place, the immediate danger of public scandal was contained. Yet the echoes of this confrontation promised to linger. The royal household had emerged outwardly united. Yet every subtle shift, every tightened jaw and flaring gaze revealed the fractures beneath the crown, a reminder that even the most polished image could not fully mask the storms within. By the time the chandeliers dimmed and the participants departed, the library had returned to its quiet grandeur, but those who had been there carried the weight of what had transpired. The night had forced truths into the open, redefined loyalties, and tested the delicate architecture of power and family. It was a night that would not soon be forgotten, where ambition, duty, and personal vendettas collided under the watchful eyes of history. In the end, the monarchy remained intact, but only by the slenderest of threads, its balance precarious, its guardians acutely aware that the next move could shift everything. What happened after the heartbreaking meeting? How was it handled publicly? Was the culprit severely punished, or was it swept under the carpet? Let's find out. Shadows of Silence and Shifting Power at 9:42 p.m. Windsor's quiet streets roared with movement as convoys slipped away under the cover of night. Journalists, ever vigilant, smelled the tension like smoke before a fire. Whispers grew into half-truths, murmurs hinting that Camilla herself had admitted something long hidden. The kingdom's pulse quickened. By dawn on October 21st, Buckingham Palace was already a hive of urgency. King Charles, Princess Anne, and a coterie of aides gathered in a tense crisis huddle. Each word measured, each glance loaded with the weight of reputation. Anne, never one to mince words, demanded a swift and thorough review, setting in motion a discreet investigation into the shadowy events of 2022. Camilla remained queen in title, her crown unchallenged, but her influence quietly diminished. Her absence was explained with a carefully crafted story of a health retreat, a polite fiction to disguise a subtle exile. Across the Atlantic, Harry in California, watching from afar, nodded to the strategy, offering only a measured if it fosters integrity. Meanwhile, documents and testimonies were sealed under layers of archaic legal acts, statements polished until any hint of scandal vanished beneath a flawless veneer. By October 25th, the palace's public messaging emerged, a carefully worded tribute titled Reflection on the late Queen's passage. No scandals, no whispers, only polished prose maintaining an illusion of calm continuity. Behind closed doors, Camilla retreated to Ray Millhouse. Those certain members have decided to get into bed with the devil, right, to rehabilitate their image. Yeah, but the moment that rehabilitation comes at the detriment of others, me, other members of my family, then that's where I draw the line. Prince Harry has just landed in London, and the explosive revelation he brought with him is sending shock waves through the entire royal family. Insiders say his unexpected return wasn't a simple visit, but a calculated move that places Queen Camilla directly in the line of fire. Whispers inside the palace hint at secrets, long-buried tensions, and a truth powerful enough to shake the monarchy's foundation. So, what did Harry uncover, and why is Camilla suddenly facing massive scrutiny? Stay tuned, because this royal bombshell changes everything. The midnight flight that shook the throne. Dawn settled quietly over Heathrow Airport on October 18, 2024, wrapping the runway in a cold autumn hush. At exactly 6:47 a.m., British Airways Flight 27L eased onto the tarmac, its engines dimming into the stillness like a ghost slipping into morning mist. Yet this was far from an ordinary landing. Inside that aircraft was more than a roster of passengers. There was a gathering storm pulsing through royal bloodlines, a brewing tempest ready to shake palaces, disrupt hierarchies, and challenge centuries of carefully guarded tradition. From the aircraft emerged Prince Harry. No fanfare, no heralded procession, no royal limousine lined with flashing cameras. Gone were the protective cocoon of pomp and private jets. The Duke of Sussex arrived disguised in simplicity, a baseball cap shadowing his face, a plain gray jacket wrapping him like armor. Sleek black SUV hummed silently nearby, VIP lanes holding secrets beneath their tinted windows. Figures in dark suits and earpieces move like shadows, whispering urgent instructions into the void, as if even the air had ears. One airport staffer, still shaking at the memory, confessed later, it wasn't a homecoming. It felt like a breach, an incursion into the heart of power itself. Harry had outmaneuvered the watchful eyes that had trailed him for years. Rather than his usual private jet, impenetrable and expected, he chose a crowded commercial flight, blending in with ordinary travelers, slipping